The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
You better go take it. Always they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation. What keeps you up at night?
I'll tell you what keeps me up at night. Ronnie Adams, he keeps me up all night long. How you doing, Ronnie Adams?
What's up, buddy? Oh, dear.
Well, folks, this is the Radulich and Broadcasting Network's premier podcast, The Whiskey Rebellion, and I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And it's May, and I hear that the dorks say to each other, "May the 4th be with you." May the 4th be with you, Ronnie Adams.
May the 4th be with you always. Mark.
I heard myself say that out loud and died a little inside.
Am I okay? Can you hear me? Okay,
I can hear you.
Yeah.
You can tell me to go fuck. You need tell me to go jump in the river.
No.
Can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Good. Go yourself.
No, I would never do that to you.
Actually, I'm waiting for you to distract me while Chris Bailey runs in from behind and whacks me with a chair.
Just like gives you the Lex Luger forearm to the head.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield. Anyway, so because I have found the best way to handle Ronnie Adams is to not give him a topic, a specific one. I say, Ronnie, just gonna come on for an hour and we're gonna talk about something quite vague. It works so well with Ghostbusters that I thought we'd do it again because it's May. Yeah, it was fun. So we're gonna see if we can have two in a row here. It's May. We're talking Star Wars. I've just come back from Rockville. I've seen no movies. I've watched no TV. So, but I am here to podcast with my good friend Ronnie Adams, the misfit and miscreant himself.
That's right. I actually, you pitched just a while back all things Star Wars, and I was like, I'm in. No matter what it is, I'm in. As far as Star Wars, and of course, the Whiskey Rebellion is now my. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be bold. It's our thing. It is
our thing.
Mark. You know,
me and you, and only me and you.
That's right. No one else.
So, Ronnie.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if you know this or not, but in 1977, an autistic man ruined the entertainment industry. Do you know about that? Can I tell you I was practicing that line?
How many times in the mirror today?
Yeah, it's like 20 times before the show started.
In 1977, an autistic man ruined the entertainment industry.
Yep, it's never been the same.
It's never been the same.
But some would say that in 1977, George Lucas gave us Star Wars, which was then retroactively subtitled A New Hope, Part 4, A New Hope.
Part 4, yeah.
And a media franchise was born.
Well, hearing you describe it, I would like to say both descriptions are right. He gave us Star Wars and he ruined the entertainment industry.
Hey, Ronnie, did he do something good or did he ruin everything? Yes, he did.
So I've been a Star Wars fan since I could remember. And oh man, I was raised on this stuff, dude. I had the original Kenner toys.
So did I.
X-Wing. I had a TIE Fighter. I had the Hoth playset. And it was all this stuff that, I had the Ewok.
Did you ever take the TIE Fighter that had the button that would launch the wings off because it had been blown up and the wing would fall on your foot, you'd scream?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or you'd aim it at your sister's head.
Yeah.
Pop it. Yeah. Yeah. So that was my favorite. I had now I always get them mixed up. The AT-ATs and the AT-STs.
Mm-hmm.
The AT-ST,
it's the smaller one with just the head
is
and
the
the 2
smaller
legs.
one with 2 legs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the dinosaur walkers, the camels.
Yes, I had one of those
Mm-hmm.
as a toy, and there's this little ledge on the back, and you squeeze the button, and it would go, and it literally went it would like goose step its way across the floor.
It's a little Nazi machine that it was.
Yeah, and so I mean, look at the correlation in the Empire and the Nazis. I'm just saying, but you know, it went from that to I remember my sister when they first started. You know, Disney was first absorbed Star Wars, and you could build your own lightsaber, not the fancy ones now that you raise up at the end of the class and all that. And I still watch those TikToks and just kind of just weep because I want to be
You're adorable.
But I don't know. But it was the plastic ones, but they were so cool, and you could interchange them. They had their own kyber crystal, the whole nine. And she brought me that because she went to Disneyland or Disney World, and I just thought that was the best thing ever. You know, it's spanned into adulthood. I adore everything Star Wars, almost everything. So,
I'm born in 1976, and so Star Wars comes out the following year, 1977, and my first birthday, like I have film footage of my first birthday because we were fancy.
Yeah.
I had two cakes because even as a 1-year-old, I was a fatty, and the one was a Chewbacca. I can make fun of myself. One was a Chewbacca cake, and one was an R2-D2 cake. And I bring that up because that's how like ingrained in the culture Star Wars was at the time.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Hey, we have a friend who's watching on YouTube, Mr. Travis Mitchell. He says, "How's it going, guys? 24 here. Hey, how's it going, fella?" We're just shooting the breeze, talking all things Star Wars.
I have to ask you. I mean, is your age 24, or is that like your call sign, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll tell us in a moment.
Is it Order 24? Will you kill all podcasters?
God, I hope. Anyway, so going all the way back to 77, 78, 79, 80. I also had the Kenner toys. Darth Vader's head kept coming off. I went to at least 3 different Darth Vaders. His head just kept popping off. And Chewbacca was a small weapon. Because like his head didn't move at all. Right.
Yeah.
So he had like the one point of articulation. You know, the legs go back and forth, the arms go up and down.
Yeah, this and this.
Yeah. Right. But like the torso and the head were like a solid piece of plastic, and if you jabbed someone in the forehead with it, you were gonna gig them like they were, dusty roads.
Man.
I had an X-wing. I had a TIE fighter. Also, did not have the Millennium Falcon. I was not a rich kid.
Oh, me either. Yeah, same here.
Do you remember though? Over the 3 iterations of the movies, the 3 toy line iterations that Kenner was putting out, they would make play sets. And the play sets were like a plastic platform that had little nubs on it that you could put because the figures had holes in the feet. And you put the figures. Yeah, I had one for Tatooine, like the desert in Tatooine. I think with the Jawas. And then years later, I would have one for Return of the Jedi, but it was like the droid slave factory from Jabba's palace.
Oh, that's dark for a child.
They sold it. My parents bought it for me. It was a different time. Back in 1984.
Yeah, I had Jabba's palace.
And
I had Hoth. And
my father, we went out to dinner last night. My girlfriend, my parents, and I. And my father told the story because he likes to tell all the new people embarrassing shit about me. So I want you to know I'm 4 years old in this story. Okay. He takes me to see The Empire Strikes Back for the first time. It's loud. I'm young and probably stimuli sensitive. And I cried and didn't make it through the Battle of Hoth and made him leave. And he's never forgiven me for it. Never, Ronnie Adams. No, years later they would put it back in theaters, and he took me to go see The Empire Strikes Back again, and because I did not want to disappoint my father or burn the meatloaf, lest I be beaten.
Exactly.
my father. I promised my father I would make it through the movie, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll see, pussy." So he takes me to see The Empire Strikes Back, and I made it through. But let me tell you how, like, that lightsaber scene back in whatever year between the actual original release and the re-release was still loud. That sound of the lightsaber cutting through the air was way loud, and I was struggling. Years later, there was I'm from Long Island, New York originally. There was a movie theater in Syosset, one of the many places named after
Long
engines.
Island, New York.
One of the many places named after engines. And
I got a story for you for that.
So there were these dome theaters, and they did. Do you remember these special editions?
Yeah.
Okay, and they released those back in theaters. Like this, very first special edition, the very first time like Han doesn't shoot first. The very first time he used like CGI to remake the films and everything and add stuff to the frames. Yeah. Stuff like that. The very first time those things were re-released into theaters, I saw them in a domed movie theater in Syosset. Man. I had some pretty cool Star Wars experiences. I remember being online for a midnight sale. You remember the old midnight sales, Ronnie?
Oh, heck yeah, dude. I was in line for Halo 2, baby.
Oh, yeah. Standing online at your local shop in the middle of the night with the rest of the dorks. One of the times that I did that, one was for the new Metallica. I think it was Load at the time. And then the other one was when the first time the Star Wars was released on, I believe, DVD. And it was in like the tan boxes, and it had not just the original trilogy, but it also had, I think, the prequel trilogy. It has like Anakin and the sand all on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I stood in line midnight for that.
Don't like sand.
Hang on. So he's answered a couple of things. He's like, 24 is my age. Haha. I had a Star Wars cake on my 20th birthday. Made sure I had the piece with Lando on it. Fella.
Nice.
He says there was the Revenge of the Sith Grievous figure that had his eyes blowing at his head after Obi-Wan shoots him. Hobby Lobby. Amen. Also has a giant poster of Tatooine, which is Anakin slaughtering Tuskens. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
He says it can never be too dark. So I just kind of I kind of want to do this in like little bitty blocks, but yeah, I saw the original movie probably on television at some point.
Yeah.
And in between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, or between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, I don't quite remember the timeline here. There were some cartoons. There was droids. There was Ewoks. There was, oh my God, do you remember like the Ewoks movies?
Caravan, yeah. Was it Caravan of Hope? And it was just Ewoks, the movie.
With discount dollar stores, with discount dollar store Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah,
the brother.
Is the brother? Yep. The one that needed the car accident, not Mark Hamill. Man, I shouldn't have said that. But then they had Wilford Brimley. Oh man. What are you doing out here in the woods? Diabetes. But man, I love those movies. I loved them, even as a kid, I watched them. I was like, man, these are terrible, but I love them.
My favorite thing was like the little kid trying to like repeating what 3PO is saying, and or like explaining it to an Ewok or some shit. It's like, and then we crashed. I still remember that.
Yeah.
I watched all that, and I watched the cartoons.
Droids was incredible. I read the Droids comic books. I've even gone as far as to watch the Christmas special.
I've never seen
a bootleg copy of it.
Yeah, I didn't see it when it aired.
Man.
I saw it years later. I think I got a copy of it at like a comic book convention, and I watched it because it's kind of like The Room now, where like if you're not an internet content creator dork, if you haven't seen The Room and you haven't seen the Star Wars Christmas special,
right?
I mean, for fuck's sake, the Red Letter Media guys did a whole thing on it.
Yeah, everybody's done something on it at least.
Yeah.
But so all through all these things, I've seen the Christmas special. I remember the Muppets episode where Mark Hamill was on there and he played Luke
Yeah, yeah.
Skywalker
They
as
were on Sesame
well.
Street.
They were on
C-3PO and
Sesame
R2-D2 were on
Street.
Sesame Street. This is
Yeah.
where R2-D2 fell in love with the garbage can.
Yeah. I remember. Growing up, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been Dateline, and it would have been about Star Wars, and I would have watched it.
Yeah.
A 6-year-old watching Dateline.
Yeah, I didn't become a miserable Star Wars hater until like the last few years.
Yeah, I noticed
that. There was a time, Ronnie Adams. There was a time.
There was a time where you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I talked about like I saw all the movies originally in the theaters. Gosh. So I'm from Long Island, New York, where we had Cablevision. And I don't know if you were fancy like me and had cable growing up, but like they used to send you a guide, like a paper guide the size of like a small pulp novel. Okay. So do you remember like how excited you felt the first time you got the guide that said Return of the Jedi was coming and it was just a picture of an Ewok?
Yeah. I was confused. So Return of the Jedi, why is there a teddy bear on there? Just a teddy bear, No, so I was too young to see really any of them in the theater.
Okay.
Of course, I wasn't even born for A New Hope,
Right.
So
what year are you born?
I can't say out loud. I'll tell you after.
Why are you a girl?
There's a running bet with some friends.
Okay.
We're trying to guess how old I am, and it's a whole thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's dumb, but it annoys them, which brings me great joy.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where I never got to see them on the big screen until I was older, and they re-released them and everything. But we had them recorded from HBO or whatever that we recorded multiple times on cable with the commercial breaks from HBO, and then we bought them on VHS, and we still kept the recorded ones. I don't know why. And then we went to Blu-ray, and now I own the first 6 movies on this gorgeous gold Blu-ray collection, and I have to get the physical media is dying, but I still want to collect. I want to collect all the Marvel movies and all the Star Wars movies. But just to have them on physical media. So if one day that great EMP from the sky hits us, I'll still be able to watch my stories.
Okay.
But it never for me. The first 3, 4, 5, and 6 have never lost their luster. Okay. I still love them to this day. And don't get me wrong, A New Hope is an incredibly flawed movie.
Sure.
With editing and everything else.
I love the behind the scenes. So like I've not only watched all the movies, played a bunch of the video games, watched a fair number of the shows, both old and the ones on Disney Plus, read the books, read the comics, done tons of podcasts on all of these. Like I know my stuff. I have a right to hate this franchise. I've suffered. But
not really, but okay.
But I remember you were talking about I lost my train of thought. I remember the first time like I saw the Phantom Menace. I was in California. Like I'd moved away from home. I was living in Los Angeles. My friend came down, and it was like it was one of those things that's like still connected us as friends. Like we both love Star Wars. And we hadn't had like my only connection to Star Wars at that point had been the books. The Del Rey books, the Timothy Zahn books, and I read everything from the Zahn trilogy. The what do you call it? The Marriage or whatever, the Princess Leia, Shadows of the Empire. I read all the way through like the Yuuzhan Vong thing where they killed Chewbacca, and they were like they were plants that that dampened the Force and all of that shit. Dude, I even read like the young adult books with the Han and Leia's kids. Dude, I did just everything Star Wars. And so when we finally get unadulterated George Lucas, and we get the Phantom Menace. I saw it twice in the same day. Saw it once by myself because I couldn't wait for my friend, and then he finally got into town. And then me, him, and like my cousin Rachel, who's now known as Mercy, if you people like EDM, we saw it at a theater at Universal Studios in Los Angeles, California. And I'll never forget my reaction to the Phantom Menace the first time. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I was smiling from ear to ear. The first time you hear R2-D2, the whole crowd is like fucking cheering and everything. And then I get to the end of the movie and I'm like, all right. Well, not what I expected.
Yeah.
And then that was a year later, 3 years later, they do Attack of the Clones, and I was so excited for Attack of the Clones. Like, oh, we're going to see the Clone Wars. This is the thing Obi-Wan talked about. We're going to see like the big epic battle between, at that point it was like the Droid Federation or whatever the fuck it was, and the new and the Old Republic. And then I saw it, and it was mostly, Anakin and Padme go to Space Venice. Their romantic vacation.
Space Venice. I love it.
And my lasting memory of Attack of the Clones, other than being wildly disappointed, was me reading the list of sexual things online with children around me because I was a douchebag. Well, what is a douchebag? So it's like, again, it's like a midnight showing of Attack of the Clones, and there's kids around me with their parents, and I'm reading stuff about like Compton gangbangs and angry dragons and shit like that. And one of my friends getting slightly nervous, and I'm like, it'll be fine. And then a few years after that, I was in California again. No, I was in Florida by this point, and moved to Florida. And my friend came down for Revenge of the Sith. And we got into like an epic debate over which was better, Revenge of the Sith or Return of the Jedi. That's what you had said, like, oh, the three movies are like your favorite. Yeah. And I think that's where I was going with this was I genuinely enjoyed Revenge of the Sith.
I did too.
Of the three of the new purely George Lucas done movies, I think that one's the best one. In a lot of ways, I think. Yeah, you were talking about, that's what it was. You were talking about how Star Wars A New Hope was really flawed. And I said, I love the behind the scenes stuff. Sorry, guys. I lost my brain there for a second. That's what I was trying to get to.
I should have helped you with that. And
it's all right. Just let me flounder. It's fine, Robert.
Okay.
So I not only read all the fictional stuff, watched all the movies and everything, I would read the behind the scenes stuff about Star Wars too. Like I would read, books like the behind the scenes history of Star Wars. And one of the things was that they had just, like a lot of directors, especially back then, they would just shoot metric tons of footage. And then his wife, I think, was the editor on Star Wars. And she had to and it's, been saved. The phrase was, it was saved in editing. They took this ridiculous story that he shot, as like a very new director. Because I think before this, all he had done was American Graffiti and like student films or like short films. Yeah. And they took the best stuff that he shot and pieced it together in a way that made some degree of sense. And voila, you had a hit on your hands. So back to what I was saying before that. I remember like Revenge of the Sith. I remember like Kevin Smith was like, oh my God, it's the darkest Star Wars yet. There was buzz on it on the news about how good it was. And I remember like for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't completely disappointed in a Star Wars movie. And then we got a break for a while. Again, it was just comic books and video games. And that's where Star Wars lived for the longest time. And then Disney bought Lucasfilm, and we got the Rey trilogy, the sequel trilogy. And I'm on record as saying I don't think The Last Jedi is the worst thing ever. I know why people hate it, but it didn't bother me. And I think, I think Rise of Skywalker is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's so bad. And I have podcasts that talked all about this, but I'm just kind of catching people up with my general thoughts on Star Wars, because it leads to why why today I struggle with this franchise.
I get it. So I struggled with the franchise with Phantom Menace, because it was not what I wanted. Just like you said, I watched it. R2's interest Phantom Menace is still incredible. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, Travis. But Phantom Menace was more of a political intrigue, not even intrigue. It was just a political movie, and then God help us all, with the accents and the just why
poor Natalie Portman. I just watched the Phantom Menace with my kids. Okay.
What about the Trade Federation accent?
Oh yeah. What? Okay. With the dangerously close to racist Asian accents.
Stereotypical Asian accents. You're racist.
You will sign the treaty. They did everything but do this with their eyes. I mean, it was that bad.
Yeah, it was so bad. But I appreciated it. Well, one for the Darth Maul and Jedi showdown. That was incredible. To this day, Ray Park is just amazing.
The man does a pretty flip.
He does a pretty flip, and he's a good martial. And he still does conventions and stuff. And he is he loves fans. And I love the expansion of the Jedi powers, how they ran fast and jumped higher and all this other stuff. And it was the first time we saw a lightsaber used as a stabbing weapon.
Right.
Because he stabbed it in the door and started melting it down. And I was like, that's going to take forever. I thought, this is going to take too long. Let's go. I was like, yeah. But
I think that's been my struggle with George Lucas's prequel trilogy. It felt like Star Wars stopped being about the things it was about and became more about the stuff. Became more, this was Red Letter Media's complaint about Star Wars, is that at some point there's this transition into it stops being about a celebration of the stuff that our parents grew up with in the 40s and 50s and 60s, like Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon and all of that, and started being about lightsabers and AT-ATs and it just became about stuff. Like the Jedi stopped being
stuff can we put in a movie?
Yeah, like being a Jedi stopped being about a celebration of quasi Buddhist religion, philosophy, and it became about magic and and stuff like that. Oh my god, I almost threw my shoe at the screen when he started talking about midichlorians. And I think that's why that's been my frustration with it.
There were moments in Phantom Menace where I was like, okay, this is kind of it feels like a Star Wars movie. I remember when Qui-Gon Jinn was standing on Tatooine and he was talking into a communicator. And I looked at it and I said, that looks like a razor without the head on it. And it was a big lady shaver without the razor on it. He was just talking into it. They just painted silvers in here. And I was like, cool. And because they, in 77, they didn't have the special effects to make the movie they wanted, so they just invented them. And then
it's a very clear look into George Lucas' psyche that he is not a guy who when he makes movies is thinking about human relationships. He is a guy when thinking about movies, it's like, I want to see cool stuff on screen, which is obviously a marketplace when there's an audience for that. I struggle with it, but I may. And I think that's sort of the great divide with moviegoers in Star Wars is there's people that really would like this to be about, people and, and whatever. And there's people who are just nope. I'm here for the cool lightsaber fights.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
You watch Phantom Menace. Have you ever read The Star Wars? Did you read that with me and Jesse?
Yeah. Because I do. I just listened to a podcast where we referenced it because we could not stop laughing about the Princess Leia character getting punched in the face.
He was like, I'm in love with her. And he just right crossed her, knocked her out, and threw her over his shoulder. And I was like, well, okay. Next time I fall in love with a girl,
Jesse and I had the best time talking about that.
I was just crying, laughing.
So, hey, by the way, real quick.
Yeah.
So for I think when The Last Jedi came out, it was back when we were doing weeks of theme weeks on the Rattles and Broadcast Network. And so the comic we did was the Princess Leia because Carrie Fisher had died the year before, right?
Yeah.
So in celebration of her and in remembrance of her, we did a Princess Leia comic. There was a character called Yvonne, and what that got Yvonne. Yvonne is not so fond.
Oh my gosh!
Stormtrooper Yvonne.
So I wonder if we got anything done that night. It was so much fun.
Dude, I listened to that back not that long ago, and I'm in the car with my kid. My son's like, "Why are you cracking up laughing? Like, who is this Yvonne person?" Oh, we used to have fun.
Random. Oh, we still do. I can't even talk now.
Really bad Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
It kind of, yes. Go to bed. Night. Yvonne says go to bed.
Oh, I love it. The Phantom Menace is more what he wanted. When you read the Star Wars, the Phantom Menace was the political intrigue and the world building and the craziness, and Han Solo was clearly
influenced by things like he was clearly influenced by things like Logan's Run, and Isaac Asimov books. Like there was this meshing of space fantasy and science fiction and adventure reels, and like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Part of the reason why they worked so well together was because they came up in the same era and liked the same stuff, and it's all over their early movies.
A little more.
Seems to understand better how people work.
Yeah, there we go. He can people better.
Yeah,
because I mean, like George Lucas is the best and worst thing that ever happened to Star Wars. It's like he said he came up with like his chocolate fingerprint stained, script and handed it over with the pages, rolled up and coffee rings on it and everything. Goes, I made something. And they were like, "Oh, this is great, George. Why don't you take these goldfish crackers and go in the corner?" And they're like, "We need to rewrite all of this. It's a great idea, but it's just there's."
Jonas asked me, like, why did they start in the middle? And I had to explain to him that George Lucas got a little crazy and wrote this like 900-page story. They were like, "You can't do all of this in a 2-hour feature, pal." Not on the $150 budget that Fox was going to give him at the time,
right?
And so he just made the middle, and then he didn't realize he had a hit on his hand, so they had to kind of like with Superman, where it's like, well, we've already done the ending to this. I guess we'll just do it again for Return of the Jedi. Real quick, so my uncle gave us one year for Christmas like Star Wars posters, but he had the original printings of like Revenge of the Sith posters. And I can remember going back to when my dad took me to the Revenge of the Jedi. Yeah. When my dad took me to see The Empire Strikes Back in the re-release, they had the trailer for Revenge of the Jedi, and there's different footage. Like I think that was a different movie. And then they had to go back and change some stuff. Yeah, I've never been able to find the footage. The little bit of footage from that trailer that they shot that didn't get used. And I want to say like that in that iteration, Han doesn't make it. Lando ends up taking over the Falcon. Han, dies in Jabba's palace. Like there's, I want to say there was an iteration. There's an iteration of Revenge of the Jedi rather, where it's not Ewoks, it's Wookiees. But again, then it gets changed because because they were chasing toy money.
It's that dollar, man.
Yeah. So I want a quick transition, and I want to, for those because we're getting some comments on here. Hey, you guys can talk about the Disney Plus stuff. Yes. Before I do, because I never get to talk about this, I played the original Star Wars arcade game in the arcade. Like again, you gotta go back to the 80s now, where it's like that Galaga graphics. The straight line, green lines with like the Death Star looks like a blueprint.
I'm from West Virginia, baby. We just got that 10 years ago.
So I remember playing that in the arcade. I remember like
the TIE Fighter game.
I was gonna say I had the Atari
or X-Wing game. X-Wing game.
Yeah.
Well, the one you sat in, and it had the Atari. It still had the Atari graphics.
Right.
TIE fighters and stuff. That was amazing.
I said I had an Atari 2600, so I had the Battle of Hoth game, where you fly your speeder and you shoot the walkers. And then skip a few years. I think for like the Sega Dreamcast, the Sega Genesis, but the add-on thing that you put into it to make it like a 32X or whatever. I had whatever Star Wars game was for that.
I had it for Super Nintendo.
Right. But the game that I remember having the most fun with, and the game that I remember very distinctly for the PlayStation, was Dark Forces. And I'm making a point of saying that because I've referenced this before and I could never remember the name of it. And I made it sure before tonight. I like to have the Wikipedia page up and everything.
Nice.
So like in modern times,
baby, live your dream.
In modern times, the two Star Wars games that I have fond memories of playing, and actually like remember the most are Dark Forces for the PlayStation, and then the Force Awakens, not the Force Awakens,
Force Unleashed.
The Force Unleashed. Yeah, I had that for Wii, I think. I love those games. Those games are fun. Man, what's some of your favorite Star Wars games?
I'll be honest with you, man. The arcade game.
Now, which arcade game? The one I'm talking about, or the one where you play through the movies, and it's it's the assaults on Yavin, or the Battle of Yavin. Okay,
I love those. And skip a few years because I had a Nintendo, but we didn't have a Genesis or anything like that. But when we got a Super Nintendo, they released A New Hope and Return of the Jedi and Empire. I think they released all three of them, and I played through all of those. And they were well. I distinctly remember A New Hope, where instead of just going to see the Jawas, you had to infiltrate their thing by jumping back and forth and dodging weird guns. And so I was like, this isn't canon at all. This is wonderful. But but it was those, and then of course skip a few more years, Force Unleashed 2. And I played through the newer ones, the new Jedi games. I'm playing through the second one now, and they are actually fantastic games. But I played Knights of the Old Republic. Coder was just those are two of the most perfect games. I mean, like there are so many games that are popping into my head now that I've played. I remember playing that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've wasted so much of my life in video games. But
wasted my life.
if it was Star Wars, it was a video game, I did my best to consume it. So I played a lot of them, but my favorites are legitimately my favorite Star Wars games that I can remember are going to be the Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Because they were just so good. And
I want to say like there's very early on in the game, there's a bit with Darth Vader where he's just straight up murdering people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's why I like Rogue One so well. Because Rogue One, oh man, I got so aggravated. A dear friend of mine, Will Alderman, man. He's a Star Wars fan, but he's not like a hardcore nerd fan. And like, actually, what that means is this. But he got
if anyone ever quotes Wikipedia to me, I will punch them in the kidney.
Yeah. He got so pissed off at Rogue One because he's like, I want Star Wars. I didn't get Star Wars. I was like, no, Bubby, you got Star Wars. There's a lot more Star Wars than Jedis and lightsabers. No, I wanted Darth Vader. And I said, well, you got Darth Vader. And he said, that was the only good part. I was like, ah. But I quoted to him, how many, what's the word? Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, you finally get to see what's in that major plot hole before blowing up the Death Star. Like we have the plans. How? Well, many Bothans died. What's a Bothan? How did they die? And just listen. We're that's mocking our way through this, and just take it. All right, okay,
So a guy in our chat here asked me to bring up Solo. I loved Rogue One. It was one of my favorite movies that came out that year. I raved about it. The Darth Vader killing the rebels in the hallway is awesome.
Oh man! And
I made my kids fucking. I can't remember what I took them to the movies, and then we were talking about something, and I'm like, I have to go home and show you Rogue One now.
Yeah.
Mostly because partially because of the Jyn Orso character, because my daughter likes anything with a strong female lead. But I'm like, but there was something that came up, and I was like, you have to see Darth Vader murdering everybody. It's awesome. So we went home, we watched Rogue One. But my problem with Rogue One is the pattern that it set. And that is, now we have to have movies that explain everything, and to the point where it was like made a parody of it. It's been made a joke out of. Like,
True.
So Solo, I like Solo just fine, but do we really need the origin of how he got his gun, how he got his belt, how he got his boots, how he got his vest, why he got his haircut that way, where's his pants from? I hate all of that. Like, Solo as a story about a train robbery is awesome. Solo about how Han Solo got his gear, not so much.
I'm going to be that guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I didn't like Solo was the actor that played Han.
Yeah, no one liked him.
Couldn't stand him. Yeah, couldn't stand him.
And part of it was people just didn't like him.
Apparently, being that guy means I've quoted the obvious.
But the fan casted somebody else in that role, and when he didn't get it, everyone just went up in arms. It was sort of like the beginning of a very antagonistic relationship with the fans and Disney.
No, that's always been that way. That was predetermined, baby. That was written in the stars.
Okay, sure.
Star Wars. No, as soon as Disney took over, people started hating it immediately just because it was Disney. But anyway, everything else was great. Woody Harrelson was great, and don't get me, Childish Gambino, of all people, Donald Glover as Lando was amazing. He had the whole Billy D thing down, man. And then this, you got the lopsided grin of Han, and he speaks in that, that distinct voice and canter, and then you've got Cecil the slack-jawed yokel coming in going, "Hey, I'm Han Solo," and he's not that bad, but it was just like, man, it took me right out of it. I was expecting more,
right?
But it could have been great. I mean, the train robbery was amazing.
Yeah,
that whole aspect of it was so good, and I didn't mind the background of, because where did Han get it? I always ask stupid questions like that. I remember reading.
I know that there is a
universe.
I know there's a portion of the fan base of every fan base that wants to live in these worlds so badly and loves the minutia of it. I'm not one of those people. I really struggle with it. And I love Lord of the Rings. I don't go a podcast without referencing how great Lord of the Rings is, and I still don't care about the minutia. There was a point.
Right.
I've actually brought this up in a recent podcast. There was a point where I was digging into well, where did the dwarves of Moria come from, and trying to figure out the lineages. At one point I was tracing the lineages of Frodo's family and all of that. Well, where did he get his mother's doilies? I was really digging into the Lord of the Rings stuff just for my own edification, but that's as far as it ever went. So I get why people Wikipedia this stuff, why people like to argue, and geek out over the minutia. It's not my thing.
So I have to I have a friend, my friend Angela. She is are you gonna mention Thrawn? Are you gonna mention Thrawn? If you see me looking down, I was answering her text. Just kicking back to the books real quick. Were you a fan of the Thrawn trilogy?
I love the Thrawn trilogy. I'm depressed that we waited this long to get anything with it. It's going to be crap.
Yeah,
considering that Lucasfilm can't fucking. We're at a point where Lucasfilm, as under Kathleen Kennedy and Disney, could fuck up a wet dream. So I don't want to get too far into this. I want to answer your question, but you were there. You were there, Ronnie Adams. You were there where between the Obi-Wan and Halo reviews fucking broke me forever.
I saw the rubber band snap in your brain.
There was I'll leave the Halo thing to the side, but there was no coming back from Obi-Wan for me. Star Wars lost me forever.
It was like when you take the old G.I. Joes and you twist them around, twist them around. And then the O-ring finally breaks.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody asked me in the chat. They were like, "Are you going to talk about Andor?" I haven't seen Andor yet, and I got yelled at by somebody on TikTok because we did a TikTok. I can't remember if I was talking to you or somebody else where I was going off on Star Wars, and the comment on that TikTok was, "Okay, if you haven't seen Andor, don't say all things Star Wars suck. Andor was great. I'm sure Andor is great. I've heard nothing but good things about it. 5 people watched it though, and it goes to the point that Disney has now fucked up so much stuff with Lucasfilm and Star Wars that it's hard to get people to come back. And I tried. In my defense, Ronnie Adams, I tried. I watched Ahsoka.
I did not.
Well, I did. God damn it! All the people yelling at me. I watched Ahsoka. I tried. I wouldn't do the review. Like, I got asked. Alexis asked me, like, will you come on and do the review with me and David? And I'm like, no. It was awful. I'm not talking about this stuff anymore.
I say I didn't watch it. I just I tried, and there were points where I did watch it and everything. And as much as I love Rosario Dawson, it just it failed to bring me in for a while. There were points where it was really cool. Okay, so like Mandalorian. Mandalorian is the most. Back to Thrawn real quick.
Yeah,
Thrawn trilogy, amazing. Heir of the Empire was one of the greatest books I've ever read in my life.
Yep.
I loved it. It was, as far as the extended university, as they call it, extended universe, as they call it now.
Extended university, yes.
What are
you gonna call it? Extended.
Extended.
Extended
ESU,
university.
Extended State University. And Angela, just gonna tell you right now that Timothy Zahn has been at multiple Galaxy Cons, and hopefully he'll be there this year. But anyway, we're going, like, a bunch of us, or several of us are going to GalaxyCon in Raleigh, North Carolina. So Mandalorian is one of the greatest things, honestly, in my opinion, is one of the greatest shows.
Well, the first 2 seasons, yes.
Yeah. Even the Luke at the end, it was just so well done. Yeah. And I am a big crybaby when Luke came on the screen and they had their moment, with he and Grogu, and then I'm on Grogu. The first. I was crying, and
I'm on the first 2 reviews for the Mandalorian season 1 and season 2, and I remember, like, everyone had seen, because they were watching them as the episodes were released. I binged it all at once when we went to review it. At that time we were reviewing stuff maybe like a week or 2 after whatever the finale was. Right. That's just how my schedule ran. So I watched it after everyone had. So I knew, like, there was a big surprise at the end, and I think I maybe knew that it was Luke, but I was like, I'm just gonna watch it clean. I'm gonna pretend I don't know that, and I'm gonna give this a chance to impress me, because I really liked The Mandalorian season 1.
Yeah,
but this isn't a period where I'm getting kind of fed up with Star Wars. Obi-Wan hasn't happened yet. So I haven't completely lost my patience with everything Star Wars.
I didn't think Obi-Wan was that bad.
Oh, I'm not gonna have this fight with you again.
We're not having a fight. We're having a discussion of all things Star Wars.
Okay, Melissa. You're not the first person to want to punch me. You won't be the last. Anyway, my point was
that was the signal for flipping you off instead of actually flipping you off.
Gotcha. So real quick, so like I think the book of Boba Fett had happened by this point, and that one I was like, that's the beginning of me losing my patience. And then we get to the Mandalorian season 2, and it's like, this is getting better. This is getting better. We're building, and oh my god, it's Luke Skywalker. And oh my god, he killed everybody. This is so cool. And then they give Grogu to him, and he's like, I'm gonna take you home now, Sonny. And yeah, they got me. Like, as someone who is really struggling with Star Wars, and as somebody who has a tendency to deconstruct things to a fault, they got me. I had an emotional. I called my friend Tom, the same guy I saw Revenge of the Sith with, and I was like, like, I forgive you, George. The whole thing. Like, I had a moment.
It's like, F you, George. Let Filoni and Favreau do everything.
And then they fucking ruined it. They absolutely fucking ruined.
We've hit on the shows. We've hit on the movies.
Hang on one second, because I had this out of order, because I don't think the Book of Boba Fett had happened yet.
No,
because it's the Book of Boba Fett where they bring Grogu back.
Yeah,
and they completely undo the perfect ending to the Mandalorian season 2. That's right. That's when I lost my fucking mind. That's when I was like, I fucking hate this company now.
Well, there are some things that they have messed up, and there are things that you and I disagree and agree with.
Yes, we disagreed that throwing mountains was a good idea.
Sorry,
I'm never gonna forget that with Obi-Wan, where I'm like, like I can forgive a lot of things with this show, and then at the end they're just throwing mountains at each other, and I'm like, I'm done, I'm out, I tap, we're gone.
So,
yes, sir.
There's a lot of things that we agree on, a lot of things. And there's some things we disagree on in this, but I think we can both agree though. And hear me out there in radio, podcast, internet world before you crucify me. Star Wars fans are the most toxic fans I have ever come across in my life, save Harry Potter and Doctor Who.
Are they? I was gonna say like more. I mean, I don't even watch Doctor Who, but I've heard Who fans are the worst, the absolute dirt worst.
Who fans have this toxic love for Doctor Who that nothing is greater. That Doctor Who could beat Superman and everything else. And like, what? He's a Time Lord, and I'm like, I don't care if he's the what, you know, and Superman would flick him and break his neck, you know.
But you really think like they're worse than the Snyder Cult?
I've not had any run-ins with Snyder Cult.
You don't spend enough time on Twitter anymore.
I hate Twitter. Is a toxic wasteland of negativity and filth. Sorry,
it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It's a wretched hive. I don't even give it that. That brings so good feelings.
Why do you want to talk about toxic Star Wars fans? Because we did a whole podcast on this. Remember that? Do you remember Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast? We talk about toxic fandoms. And we did at least
Mark Radulich of the Rise of Skywalker network.
And we did at least 30 minutes on Star Wars fans.
No, I don't understand the hatred towards each other. All right, so I enjoy 7 and 9. 8, not so much. But I have been called every name in the book, been made fun of, told I was stupid, told I didn't have good taste in movies, told I wasn't a true Star Wars fan because I enjoyed 7 and 9. Because I enjoyed The Force Awakens.
You talking about The Force Awakens and then The Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah. Okay. And people like, oh, if you like this, you're not a real Star Wars fan, blah, 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 blah.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Because I get both guns aimed at me because I defend The Last Jedi, not the other way around. Like the Baileys of the world of like the Star Wars fans, like if you don't like The Force Awakens and you don't like The Rise of Skywalker, go fuck yourself. And I'm like, oh well, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean, I've been attacked for liking them, and that the prequels were the most I mean, it's even gone as far as the prequels are the superior 3 movies of all 9 of them.
Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah, at which point that was pretty much the visceral knee-jerk reaction that
Hang on. I know you're trying to get to a point. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but I just took a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old to go see the Phantom Menace, and the 10-year-old was like, "This was the most boring shit ever. Stop taking me to Star Wars movies."
Oh no!
That's my genius son who thought Dune 2 was the height of cinema. Take that, Star Wars fans. Go on, Ronnie.
I know he's super intelligent, but the way you said genius son, you're like, that's my genius son. Like bangs his head on the wall all day and then goes, let's go see a movie.
That kid falls on the ground sitting on it. I'm not going to say he's always with it, but he's like really smart and really dumb at the same time. I don't understand. But he didn't like the Phantom Menace to the point of that rant.
That kid is going to invent something that makes him a trillionaire one day. I know he is.
I hope so. I told me to
and
take
then
care of
sell
his
it for $1.50.
He's gonna give it away because he's a communist.
Yeah. I just don't understand why. I mean, like, it's the state of the world today, though. I mean, you look at politics, you look at everything. You know, left, right, blue, red, whatever. We all don't. I don't care. I just want to be able to like something without somebody saying I'm an a-hole for enjoying it more than what they enjoy, or just enjoying it. It's a piece of filth. This cinema it doesn't really belong, and it's not actually Star Wars canon. Well, that's not your call to make there, Stubby. It's not my call. It's not any of our call. It's the people who made the film. It's the people that that own the franchise. It's their call. And guess what? even though you don't like it, Slappy, it's still canon. And I didn't like the racist trade federation, just because even then back in '99 they were really cringy. It's just like what the crap, and only we were a little more free to make fun of it. But it was Star Wars fans suck, man. And I'm not talking about like you and me. We both have our opinions, and Bailey has his opinions. And everything,
I don't think it's an opinion when you just blindly like everything, but go on.
I don't blindly like everything.
No, I'm talking about Bailey.
Oh, okay. I was like, Bailey, there are plenty of movies that I have not liked.
When it comes to Star Wars, Bailey is like a fucking jihadi. He's like, there is no discernible nothing. Like, it's all good. I will accept nothing else. He's gonna run in one day. May the Force be with you, and just blow himself up.
Oh no! May the Force be with you. Wow,
take me and Robert out with him. Fuck you guys. All right.
Well, a 1 out of 2 ain't bad. But no, I'm kidding. I'm teasing, Robert. I'm kidding. But it's just, I don't know, man. I how not. I don't want to say sensitive, but how I am with like just let people like stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you like the so-called horror movies, Jack Frost's Attack of the Killer Mutant Snowman 1 and 2, go ahead and love it. It's one of the few movies that I turned off in the middle of it. I was like, I couldn't do that.
Since you brought this up, let me address some of the things that you said, because you're talking about Star Wars people, because this could be about anything. There is a gatekeeping and like a possession of things by people where they've just made it their personality, the core of who they are, lacking in anything else of substantive. And
bro, you're talking to somebody in the TTRPG community, like the tabletop role-playing community, where gatekeeping is a standard. In Magic the Gathering, gatekeeping is everywhere. And
I think there are people who they struggle with. It's funny. I can laugh at myself. I can make fun of myself. I started this whole podcast with I was a fat 1-year-old. Like I clearly have pretty thick skin, and I would have to deal with you fuckers for the past 20 years.
What? I have at least 100 episodes of source material that say I put up with you.
Whatever, racist. Anyway.
See?
Anyway, I clearly have thick skin. To do what I do for a living, to tolerate what I've tolerated, to deal with what I deal with on here. But not a lot of people are built the same way. And they can't handle criticism. They can't handle being told that something they like. Robert's line about they don't want to hear your opinion, they want to hear their opinion come out of your mouth. Like the constant seeking of validation for people so that, so that they can sleep at night, I think is what drives a lot of the toxicity in fan bases. So it's like when you've decided that your entire personality is Star Wars and, and it's like the one thing that gives you joy. And if someone comes along and makes a perfectly accurate, objective criticism, it's hard for people to take that because it's like you're criticizing them and they can't take it. They can't take the criticism. That's what I think what a lot of times what it comes down to.
I think devil's advocate.
Sure.
So the attitude you're talking about of they don't want to hear your opinion, they want to hear their opinion come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Can we take that to an extreme and immediately dismiss anything coming out of a studio or something, or a creator that has not hit a home run in our eyes in a long time? Immediately dismiss it and then blindly just hate it.
What do you mean? I'm not following this.
So, well, okay, so you're saying like some fans want you to blindly love what they love no matter what you say.
Somebody comes up to me and says, "What did you think of Ahsoka?" They want me to, and they loved Ahsoka. It reminded them of, it was an extension of Rebels. They love everything Star Wars blindly. They thought Ahsoka was fantastic because it had all the Rebels characters in it. They want me to say it. They want me to agree with them, but they can't tell me that they loved Ahsoka. They want to hear me say I loved Ahsoka, so they feel safe and secure and validated too.
What I'm saying is on the flip side of that, we see something and we extract no joy from it because we are on the opposite side of the fence of that. We have been annoyed and not just by the movie, by the filmmaking or anything like that. We are annoyed by the fans who want to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth, that we immediately dismiss it.
Yeah, okay, now I see what you're saying.
And get no enjoyment out of it whatsoever. Cannot find one good thing.
Yeah, okay, so I know what you're talking about now. And I'm going to bring up your favorite podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And I've often said that there is a following of ours, a very silent following of Damn You Hollywood that tunes in because they want to hear me and Robert hate fuck something.
Yeah.
They are like, for whatever reasons, because we're good at it. I'm like,
you're incredible.
This is just film deconstruction. To some people, it's just we just hate the fuck out of things, and it's just who we are. I'm not going to defend myself here. That's not why we're here. We're here to have fun and talk about Star Wars. But I will say this: I do think to the point that you're making, people. Let's focus on Star Wars. I think people have now are either so hurt and so betrayed by everything that's happened with this IP, or they're so angry and they're so bitter as people in general. They go into it like they've already decided before they've seen the product that it's bad.
Okay.
So the next
that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah.
So like the next Star Wars show that comes out may be great. Maybe another Andor. Andor season 2. It's gonna be fantastic. So actually, you know what? As a way to kind of end this, they got the Acolyte coming up, and people have already decided the Acolyte sucks before they've seen any of it. And it's because they've utterly lost patience with Lucasfilm and Star Wars. The Acolyte may turn out to be great, but on the other hand, because people were let down by Ahsoka, people were let down by Obi-Wan Kenobi, people were let down by the Book of Boba Fett, people were let down by season 3 of The Mandalorian. They're pissed off that Gina Carano got fired from The Mandalorian for not being, for not saying the right things politically and for continuing to talk when she was told, shut the fuck up, Gina. Stop, as Sean said, stop fucking with the money, Gina. Even if the Acolyte is a return to form, is apolitical, makes a male the lead hero, does everything that we want Star Wars to be, and they've already decided it's awful before they've seen a frame of footage. Like, I get that, and I get where it's coming from. I get why it's frustrating for the other side.
We know people like that. They immediately just dismiss everything because they think it sucks.
Yeah, it's equally stupid as blindly liking everything and having no ability to objectively criticize anything. Look, I love Bailey to death. And for those who are just tuning in, Bailey is one of my good friends. We just did the Flintstones podcast together. He does the superhero team up, the Superblog team up rather. He used to do something called Superhero Satellite. He podcasts when his wife lets him podcast. However, he is one of those people who
Bailey and I are secret superpower behind the scenes.
Yes. And his whole thing is everything that Star Wars is great. Everything that comes out that has a Star Wars label on it is awesome, and I love it. It makes me feel young again, like when the world was born. Yeah. Fine, I don't care. But he gets mad at me because I'm like, I don't have that same religious love for Star Wars. And I think it was that I used to. Coming all the way back to the beginning of this podcast, the sad part is that I used to have that religious fervor for it. My friend and I, my friend Tom, we used to refer to ourselves as Jedis. It was because it was the only religion we could identify with. A little Catholic boy, a little Jewish boy. We're just like, we reject all of these things. We're gonna be Jedis instead. Like there was a time and place where I also wanted to live in the Star Wars world. And I grew up.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I watched the products. They ceased to bring me joy. I spoke openly about it, and I'm not going to apologize for it. But I'm also not going to tell people that they shouldn't watch it either. Like, go. Look, Alexis is another person I know, one of your favorites, who loves the shit out of this stuff and very rarely criticizes it. And if it brings her joy, great, good for you. But there's a reason why I said you go watch the Marvel shows and the Star Wars shows and the anime shows and Knuckles. And because I'm not going to watch this crap anymore. I can't stand it.
You know that I have always said, you do you, boo-boo. I don't.
Right.
I'm never going to tell you not to just agree with me to agree with me. And I know that we disagree on things. I think Bailey and me and a few other, Star Wars. I'm going to rope this back down to Star Wars, and not just you or anybody in the chat or anything like that. We have a chat with a bunch of podcasters, with all the podcasters in it. It's fans everywhere. If you like it, when they so clearly hate it, they will just take a dump in your lap and make you sit in your poo pants all day. You know what I mean? And just, berate you and everything else for liking something that they don't like. Like I said, I enjoyed 7 and I enjoyed 9, mainly because J.J. Abrams, who's a fan, tried to do him justice. He tried to fix things in 9.
What you liked? Can I ask what you liked about 9? Because 9, I don't want to relitigate the movie, but there were a couple things about 9 that I thought were so egregious that we're beyond Star Wars at this point. This is just bad filmmaking.
I like the redemption
killing Chewbacca and then 5 minutes later bringing him back to life, or tricking the audience into thinking he was dead.
That's just movie making, baby.
Oh no, it isn't. I hated that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to re-review the movie. Yeah. Okay. You like the redemption arc.
I like the redemption arc of Kylo Ren.
Okay.
Feels like Star Wars because there's always a redemption arc.
Sure. Sure. That's what the first 6 movies are about. It's the
exactly.
The fall and rise of and redemption
Anakin
of
Skywalker.
Darth Vader. Yeah, of Anakin Skywalker. I get that.
Yeah. So I like the redemption arc of Kylo Ren. I like. I understand there was some weird stuff. I even like the return of the Emperor, mainly because it just shows how powerful he really was, and that's how I saw it. I was like, oh, he was like so powerful.
I'm not going to argue with you on the detail. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with the detail on the returning of the Emperor. I just think like Dark Empire, the Dark Horse comic. I love the shit out of Dark Empire. Also handled the Return of the Emperor better. You got to see like the clone fight, dude. So, hey, Mark, say something nice about Star Wars. Sure, Dark Empire. Dark Empire has this really great story where Luke goes to the dark side. Jesse, I think, talked about this in source material, but people want to listen to that. Luke goes to the dark side so that he can understand more about it, and basically like says, "Hey, Leia, I'm probably gonna end up succumbing to this and not be able to like pull myself out of it. Come get me." And she does, and so there's a lot of focus, and she's like, "I'm not all the way trained. Like I don't know, I'm not as strong in the Force as you are. I don't think I can come rescue you from the Emperor." He's like, "Well, you're gonna have to because this is the plan." And you get to see the Emperor's clone factory, and it's such a great story. And
it really is.
One of the many things that has like pissed me off over the years was how between the Zahn books, the Dark Empire, some of the video games, there was such good stuff that was just waiting to be adapted.
Yeah.
And Lucasfilm gets bought by Disney and they throw in the fucking garbage.
I've said
it's Elseworlds or whatever the name they use. Yeah.
I've said that since day one. There's so many good things that they could have done, and they trashed it all. I accepted it after a minute, saying they want fresh stuff, they want this, they want. I get it. I get what they're doing. They're like, well, we bought it, we're going to play with it. It's just why I took my toys out of the box when I was a kid. You got it, you might as well play with it, you might as well change it, you might as well do something with it. And it was, and I get that. It was sad that they didn't adapt the Thrawn, the Thrawn trilogy and all the, all these other books. Even the YA books, the Jedi kids, why didn't they adapt all of those into TV shows and movies and whatnot? But the first one, everybody's complaining. Well, it's too much like A New Hope. Well, yeah, it's because it's a circle. Everything's coming back around.
in defense, like I have no problem with the Force Awakens or the fact that it was like basically a soft reboot. At the time that came out, so that's like 2015, I think it is, which means my daughter was 2015. She's 4. Fucking loved Rey. She just thought that didn't really couldn't sit through the movie, but
that's
she knew
the other
Rey
thing.
as a.
I love Rey.
Yeah, she loved Rey as a character. And I remember taking her to the theme parks. I live in Florida. I've been to Disney and have done all the Star Wars rides there. And I remember like she latched on to the Rey character like way quick. Had a little lightsaber and everything, a little purple lightsaber.
Did she dress up as her one Halloween?
No, she was Doc McStuffins on
did.
Halloween. She was not Rey, but she did like to run around with a lightsaber though.
Yeah, well, that must have been another
lightsaber to fairy wings. So all right, let me ask you, since you brought this up, and it's kind of a way to dig out of the podcast now. So there are certain things that are just not changing. We are where we are with these movies. They, much like Marvel, they had to do like a hard stop and go, we have wrecked this car. This car is not drivable in its current condition. They got some stuff coming out on Disney Plus. They got the Acolyte coming up. But for the most part, it's a almost terminally damaged brand. I have not heard if they're doing a new movie anytime soon. I know there were 100 movies at one point in production. They've all been canceled. No known director wants to work with this brand anymore.
Well, they don't want to work with Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. So my point is, what's next for Star Wars in your opinion? Like, how do you pull the plane out of the nosedive, Maverick?
Well, in my opinion, they made the right choice in doing a hard stop. They have to step back, and they have to take the lore that they have created, the lore that's already been created, and focus on new characters. No more than one movie a year for over the course of 4 or 5 years.
I know they're doing a Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which made me want to shoot myself.
I don't know. I want it, but I don't. It's better as a series.
Yeah.
More Bill Burr, less other things.
Bill Burr is great.
He was amazing in that show. But in my opinion, legitimately, they've made the very first step that they need to in stopping and saying, okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's see how we can revive this. And then they need to look inward and see that they ruined it by putting their own beliefs behind it instead of going back to the lore and to the canon and to staying true to the story. And I think, like I said, I think they need to focus on newer characters. I think they need to save Rey for more of a Obi-Wan Luke kind of character who is guiding people, starting a new Jedi temple or something like that, and go from there. Because people are going, if you start bringing out all the characters that you had, even Finn, even Oscar Isaac, Poe, yeah, even Poe or any of these people, they're just going to poop on it because you've already shoved these characters in our face and said, this is what you like, the people are not going to enjoy that. I think they need to write some stronger characters, or not stronger, but more strong characters, and start over that way.
Hey, you pay attention to the news. Like, what is the big thing with Star Wars Outlaws? I've heard there was like controversy, or like that's another thing that people shat on or something like that. I wasn't paying that close attention.
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't really heard anything about it, to be honest with you.
And wasn't there like a game that got canceled? Like they
not Outlaws.
Okay.
Outlaws is coming out. It's between Empire and Jedi. I know that. But there's no controversy about it that I'm aware of. We'll put it that way.
I thought I heard something like that. I heard a game got canceled. I heard so it was something like people don't like a new game that came out or something like that. I don't know. It's
was it Project Ragtag?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was like a third person, like a Call of Duty Star Wars.
Okay.
No, Call of Duty is first person. It's gonna be like a game Gears of War Star Wars. It's a third person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
That was canceled a while back though.
Okay.
So I don't remember. I don't know.
Okay.
Forgive me,
Robert asked me. It's fine. Robert asked me a little ways back. He was like, "What would you do if you were in charge of Lucasfilm?" And I was just like, "Stop releasing anything for a little while."
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, nothing on Disney Plus. No, nothing. Just regroup. Like, bring it all. No more books. No more comics. No more nothing. Just everything stops for a little while. Like, give it a year. And I think I had made the suggestion at the time, like maybe start all over again, like recast the entire Skywalker saga from 1 to 9. New all new actors. Let's retool that story so that it's not awful, and let's make it coherent and make sense. And I think
you're treading a fine line on that, my friend. That's hallowed ground. That's hallowed ground.
We're getting new Lord of the Rings movies. There are no more sacred cows.
There are no more sacred cows with that. But I'm talking about me and you.
Mm-hmm.
As a Star Wars purist, as a Star Wars fan of many years,
mm-hmm.
if they said, "Hey, we're rebooting this," I will be that guy. I will be the guy that I don't like and go, "It stinks." Automatically get rid of it, burn it to the ground, pee on the ashes, salt the earth, whatever, because everything to me as far as 4, 5, and 6 is perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There is no Luke other than Mark Hamill. There is no Han other than Harrison Ford. There are people that can portray younger versions of them that they didn't hire for Solo, but it's I don't think I would want to reboot it. It's a fine line. That's a dangerous territory for any filmmaker with something as sacred as this. Now we look at Lord of the Rings. Is it truly a sacred cow? Not really, as far as cinema goes. I mean, I'm saying I'm because even now to this day, as amazing as those movies are, I was watching Fellowship yesterday and today because I decided to watch the extended edition, and I have to stretch those out over a course of a couple of days. They're amazing, they're phenomenal, but I would be like, it wouldn't hurt to see how somebody would recast Aragorn, or put Tom Bombadil in a film.
Yeah, I think this is a very subjective opinion that you have.
It's a very subjective opinion. It is.
Because I'm sitting there just like, I hear what you're saying, and like, yeah, no, and that's the thing is I'm sitting here going, okay, this is your opinion that they should not reboot Star Wars, and is entirely tied to your opinion of this particular IP.
Bringing it back to somebody's going to say the exact opposite as me.
Okay, somebody wrote on Twitch, my God, Mark is hacked into the Matrix. He's about to start telling us he knows Kung Fu. Oh, I just realized that you're referring to my background. It's because I don't have a good background for the Whiskey Rebellion, and I happen to like this one. Thank you, Captain Birdseye.
Mark has hacked into the Matrix. He's known Kung Fu, sir. He is.
I have seen Behind the Code of the Matrix for years now. It's partially, I think, also to go back to your original point, like why I don't get particularly emotional about any one IP. Like, dude, I saw those headlines. Like, okay, you're like, okay, but it's just they're not attacking things you like. They are now. Okay, I had to sit through season 1 of Rings of Power and review it with Dave. I had to see those headlines that said we're getting new Lord of the Rings movies, and I had to resist the urge to bite my toilet seat. So, but
the mental image of that is incredible, by the way.
That was how I left work on Wednesday. It's like I'm gonna go bite the toilet seat. Bye. Anyway. So my point is, like, yeah, if you're like that emotionally tied to Star Wars, sure, you know, they can be no others. But I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, we've done this with Star Trek, we've done this with all kinds of IP.
But they even went as far as to say that Star Trek now and the Star Trek then are two different timelines.
I think they say whatever the fuck they want. I think I told you, like, when my son was having a conversation with Chris, and they were arguing about Deadpool, and I finally had to scream at both of them. Like, they can make Deadpool do whatever he wants. He's a fucking fictional character.
It's true.
Christ, get out and mow the lawn. That's what needs.
Go get a job.
Yeah, my God, I'm tired of walking through weeds. All right, we've had fun for the last hour and 20. We managed to talk an hour and 20 minutes of our highs and lows of Star Wars, the things we've enjoyed, the things we've enjoyed, the things that we've hated. So it was fun. It was fun.
I've always enjoyed talking to you like this.
Yeah, I enjoy our little open-ended conversations. And you're in the rotation there, pal. So next month, the month of June, I had to explain this to Robert. I was like, so they moved this, they moved that, stuff got blah, blah, yakety schmackety. So Bad Boys Ride or Die comes out June 7th, and we're not doing a Damn You Hollywood on it because I refuse to put Robert through that. And we've already done review. We did a Long Road to Ruin on the first two Bad Boys, and then Robert and I did review Bad Boys 3. So
hear me out on this.
Yes.
Screw putting Robert through that. Don't put yourself through that.
Okay. So anyway, my point is,
you know what I mean. I didn't mean anything bad about it.
So I was like, well, we're not going to do I'm not going to put Ronnie on Damn You Hollywood, because let's just talk all the Bad Boys movies, kind of like we did tonight. And we'll talk. We can touch on Bad Boys Ride or Die, because I'll have seen it that weekend. Hopefully you'll have seen it, and if you don't, it doesn't matter because we can just talk in general the Bad Boys movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be kind of like if we took Long Road to Ruin, On Trial, and Damn You Hollywood and put it in a blender. And then,
here at the Whiskey Rebellion, we like to talk about all kinds of things. I dare say, since we talked about a fandom that included comic books, novels, movies, and video games, we didn't just talk about movies tonight. We spent a great amount of time on it, but I've got some ideas that I'll sling at you later for stuff that we can talk about as well. But I've really enjoyed co-hosting this with you, and I'm looking forward to Bad Boys.
Yeah, we're gonna talk all things Bad Boys on June 10th. So that'll be the next Whiskey Rebellion.
What you gonna do? What you gonna
do when they come
for you? Sorry, I don't know the words.
Hey, are you ever hosting another TV party again? Because like you did Tulsa King, and then you did Fallout 900 years later, and
I don't know. I just mooed like a cow.
Well, isn't there like a Vox Machina coming out? Are you gonna do that again?
I'll do season 3. Yeah. As soon as it comes out.
Who are you gonna find to talk to you about it? Because I'm not doing it.
I'm gonna talk to you.
No, you're not.
Make you do it. Oh yes,
nope.
I am.
Oh no, you're not. You got to catch me first. Whee!
Oh, come on.
I'm not doing another season of that. No, thank you.
All right, I'll get somebody to do it.
There you go.
Adam.
David likes it. Talk to David.
Yeah, I'll talk to David.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, you know how I do the Dungeon Master and Game Master thing.
Yeah. Hey, this would be a great time to do your plugs. As a matter of fact.
A week ago, we did Dungeons and Dragons one shot at my local game store, nerd store called Multiverse of Burlington. And we did Star Wars 5e. So we took Dungeons and Dragons 5e rules and played Star Wars characters with them. It was a lot of fun. So there are role-playing games and a new trading card game out for Star Wars as well that I did not get to touch on, but that's okay because I forgot.
When I was actively playing like tabletop role-playing games, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons. I knew there was a Star Wars one out there. I heard it was super cool, and I wanted to play it. I never did.
There's actually multiple. There's a new one out now too. It's not just 5e. 5e is totally all online now. They stopped producing it, and they just put it all online. There's also miniature games, much like Warhammer 40K. It's called Shatterpoint, X-Wing. X-Wing, of course, is all the ships. And then Shatterpoint is more like close combat, little squads. And then there was, I can't remember another one. That's the one I bought into a little bit. It's just a miniatures game where you move and shoot, and roll dice. So lots of stuff out there, Star Wars, a lot of stuff to consume. But yeah, I'm actually, you see at the bottom of my name here, pointing down here, right through here. It's twitch.tv/misfits and miscreants. We are getting ready to release our brand new teaser trailer or teaser for the stream going live again. We've got some games lined up. We are also doing other content such as Magic the Gathering. We're doing some deck teching, maybe some unboxings and things like that. We actually filmed an unboxing here recently. We decided to get together and buy some new dice for our new game. We went to krakendice.com and bought a bunch of stuff. They sent us a bunch of free stuff as well because we met certain tiers of their sale and got a really nice, big messenger bag out of it. It was really cool. And so to say that, we did an unboxing of that, and then we're running a contest soon. As soon as our video goes up, and as soon as we're on Twitch, I should say, I will say this stream will not be live. It will be the one that we're going to put up. It is pre-recorded, but it's just as chaotic as it would be live. We are going to start a giveaway for your own set of 14-piece set of Kraken dice. So there's extra D20s, extra D6s, a D2, which is just a coin that you flip. It's really cool. So yeah, go check us out. We're going to start a new game. We're going to start a game of Lost Mine of Phandelver, and then mosey on into the new one that just came out called Vecna, Eve of Ruin. And then we'll go. I've got some plans from some other role-playing games that we'll probably be doing online with people out of state from me, such as Candela Obscura, Old Gods of Appalachia, Call of Cthulhu, Everyday Heroes. There's going to be a variety of things that's going to be popping up on this channel. And from there, I will no longer be playing video games on it. I have a new channel, a personal channel, and all of us at Misfits and Miscreants will have our own personal video game streaming channels. So that the Misfits and Miscreants will just be role-playing card game, news, fireside chats, things like that. So lots of cool stuff happening over there. So go give us a follow.
All right. If you're wondering why I have cocaine nose, it's because I was at Welcome to Rockville this past weekend.
Choose your next words wisely.
In Daytona. I was there Thursday. I was there half the day Friday, and then I was there all day Saturday. It was glorious. Had a wonderful time. I bailed out on Sunday because I was just done. But got pretty burnt. I'm going to talk about it in detail tomorrow on the Metal Hammer of Doom jukebox. The album that we are looking at is Unleash the Archers, Phantoma. So we're going to play a video from there. I've got another video that I picked out from the Austrian death metal, Austrian death machine. Oof. Robert Cooper will play a video. Jesse will play a video. Probably talk more about artificial intelligence, written songs and shit like that. So we got the Metal Hammer of Doom jukebox tomorrow. We can talk Unleash the Archers and Welcome to Rockville and other picture postcards. That's what's going on this week. No, if you're wondering, hey, weren't you supposed to do stuff with Sean? Sean's busy. Sean's got a lot of stuff going on. Sean's about to get married. So, Pride Month canceled for this year. So the 2-3 shows we were supposed to do for Pride Month, I just kicked into next year. And Sean and I will be back in July.
I thought you canceled it for everybody because Sean was getting married.
Nobody gets to celebrate queers. Nothing. No how. So we'll be back July 11th for one that he actually pitched. So maybe he'll actually show up for it. We're focusing on Mike Flanagan movies, Oculus, Hush, and Gerald's Game. In the meantime, like I said, We've got Metal Hammer Jukebox tomorrow, and then that's it for me for this week. In fact, I don't think anyone else has got any shows either. Next week, damn you, Hollywood. We've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Chris Owen from Movies Don't Suck on the Do will be on with me and Robert. That'll be fun. I enjoy Chris. He's a good dude. On Tuesday, I'll be taking my kids to go see I Saw the TV Glow. However, Alexis Haina will be helming the ship. She will be doing a review of X-Men 97. Then I'll be back on Thursday with Pat Mullen, and we will be talking about what all happened this past Saturday when Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk fought for all the heavyweight belts. That happens on the 18th. We will talk about it on the History of Boxing podcast on May 23rd. That's all I got. I want to thank Ronnie for hanging out with me for a night. We had a very enjoyable conversation. Looking forward to our Bad Boys one next month. And then I think we need to. I picked a topic already for July. I think I just decided that this is what we're doing.
You've done that a couple of times now, but that's okay.
No, actually, there is nothing in July. We're skipping July. However, we've got a couple of Sons of Anarchy shows coming up that you're going to be on, and and yeah, that's it for July. So I think the next Whiskey Rebellion. I know I picked something, and now I don't remember what it was. Just like, oh, that's what it was. Okay, so yeah, September 12th. It will be the one after the Bad Boys one, and yeah, that one still needs a topic.
Yeah.
Alrighty. That you know what it was? You know what it was? It was I was doing the calendar for the rest of the year, and I was like I'm gonna make Ronnie talk veterans that make Ronnie's Whiskey Rebellion in November a Veterans Day show. And I'll make Andrew come on. All right. So with that said, for Ronnie Adams, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, behave, and of course, may the Force be with you.